It's soldiers, most importantly, who use this saying, leave no one behind. But I do know that the government of Zimbabwe has also adopted the same saying, leave no one and no place behind. And this is exactly what we aim to do on this Issues Paninyaya brand new show. And this is the first installation. Welcome to it. My name is Leander Candiero. The show is called Out of the Mouths of Men. So many people have argued that we're leaving boys out. We're leaving men out of the conversation. And we concentrate a lot on women. So we decided as Issues Paninyaya to make sure that we include men, which is why I have my very good friend here, Tony Friday. Tony, welcome.
It's an honor to be here, man. Thank you so much for inviting me to this important conversation.
Tony and I go back in the days, radio days, but I'm very proud of the direction that you've taken, Tony.
Thank you.
The wellness of people.
Yeah.
And it's not just men, but wellness of everybody.
Of everybody, yeah.
But the reason why I decided to call you was you have a story that you've been brave enough to share.
Yeah.
Of once in your life attempting to take your own life.
Yep.
It is a statistic that is known, and it's a truth that is known, that more men take their own lives more than women.
Yep.
And we are here to discuss that.
Yep.
So as a starting point, Tony, take me through the process where you had decided to take your own life. What was going on in your head?
A lot was going on at the time. The year was 2011. I had, that I had moved to South Africa because of radio in 2009.
Sure.
So 2010 saw the end of my marriage, which had lasted for 5 years, give or take. We had a 5-year-old baby at the time, and we went through the separation and then eventually divorce process.
Sure.
And what happened after divorce is what I didn't anticipate, because I didn't have names for the things that I was going through. I just knew that I was not okay. Yeah, so the assumption is that, when you leave someone, you can always find someone else, and then life goes on.
Sure.
But you and I know that's not how it works. I was going through a lot of emotional trauma at the time. I was very angry because of the circumstances that surrounded the divorce, and I was very bitter. I was severely depressed. And the thing that I remember the most is the inability to live a normal life. You become dysfunctional. And what's weird about mental and emotional health issues is that these are things that no one can see. Because we see Lee, he's all dressed up and he's probably driving his nice car. But what they don't see is the war that is going on inside your head.
Sure.
At this point, I had a job. I was running a radio station, and I had about 30 people reporting to me, and I somehow had to keep it together.
But you are not well yourself.
But I'm not well. So just to take you through a normal day in the life of a severely depressed person, which I was, I now know that it was a clinical case of depression. Getting out of bed in the morning when the alarm strikes 6 in the morning was a problem. Taking a bath was a problem.
Taking a bath?
Yes. And prior to that, sleeping was a problem. Eating was a problem. Getting to work is a problem. Doing the actual work is a problem.
So maybe let me just interject there. Were you staying alone? Was there nobody there to see what you were going through?
I was sharing a flat with 2 guys from Pakistani, I think. This is in Midrand, South Africa.
Yeah.
So, in South Africa, really, people just mind their own business. As long as you're walking and you're breathing, you're fine. So I hadn't told anyone about what was going on at this point, but I was on the verge of getting fired because my results were at work. My performance was severely, taking a knock.
Was this noticeable from your superiors that something is wrong
the
in
work,
terms of performance?
The performance spoke. It was the thing that showed them that there's something going on here. And I remember my boss was Nigerian at the time. He would call me into his office and he'd be like, but what is going on? Like, I know you to be a very, hands-on. I'm a hardworking person generally. So what's going on? And the key thing is I couldn't articulate the experience. I didn't have words for it. I didn't have names for depression. I didn't have names for this experience I just knew that I wasn't okay and I was in extreme pain. And I remember feeling tired. I remember feeling, I got mugged one time because at this point I wasn't driving. So I would take public transport so the walk from the office to where I used to get transport is a very risky one. This is in Joburg, South Africa. I would pass through Park Station and I remember getting mugged one time. And I remember wishing that I wish they had, because the guy had a knife. He didn't have a gun or anything. So I remember wishing, why didn't he just
end my life?
Yeah, and that was the first sign that it was the first proof that I didn't want to continue living anymore.
Tony, I'm going to come through again and ask.
Sure.
You were going through emotions that you couldn't put a finger on.
Yeah.
But could you link it to the separation?
Yes.
You could?
Definitely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Had you heard about depression before?
Nope.
Which is why you did not understand
what was going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you're going through all these emotions, your work is affected, you almost get mugged, and you think they should have done it for me.
Yeah.
How long after that did you then decide to do it yourself?
I think it was a matter of a month, if I'm not mistaken, because the actual attempt was in March 2011. So how it happened was that I just got so tired, man. Like, you can only do so much of waking up every day and putting up the same fight. And at some point you get tired. Your spirit gets tired. Your body gets tired, because mental health does manifest physically. Yeah. In fact, they say that 87 to 95% of a visit to the doctor right now are mental health related illnesses that then manifest. That's a shocking statistic, man. That's almost everything. Right? So on this particular Saturday, I remember saying my last prayer, and I remember sitting in my room, in my bedroom, and I sit on the bed, and I had a whole cabinet full of all kinds of medication because I was on and off sick physically. And I now know that all these things were linked to what I was going through mentally and emotionally. And I remember thinking, if I could just put together enough of these pills, surely they should take me out. So I did on a Saturday. But the only thing that they did is that they made me unconscious, and I woke up around 2 a.m. And no, I was not in either heaven or hell. I was very much alive.
So you took pills?
Yeah.
Any idea how many you took?
It was a bunch. I don't remember how much. It was different pills because I had ulcers,
and
I had headaches.
The anticipation was for you to take your own life.
Exactly. That was the end goal. Yes.
You were by yourself.
I was by myself.
So you got knocked out.
I got knocked out.
You woke up by yourself as well.
Woke up by myself.
Nobody woke you up.
Nobody woke me up. And can I just say something at this point? Like, just zoom into this day, right? And I'm going to say this carefully because I don't want it to come out wrong.
Yeah.
The goal was not to die. I didn't want to die. Dying is not what I was after. I was after peace. I was after just going through a day or whatever, just without pain. Like, I just wanted the pain to not going through pain. So I attempted twice within the same month. But I don't want to get into too much detail about that because it was take the whole day. But it was twice in the same month.
Did you try the same method though?
Yes, the second time. Just with more pills. Yeah, but clearly...
And again, Tony, because it's important, I get you when you say that you wanted to put it right so that people don't get twisted. But again, you were looking for peace again.
Yeah.
All you wanted was the pain, the confusion, the emotions to go away. Just for a day. Okay. Even if it means dying. Yeah. Do you think that that's what a lot of people also go through, the ones that will eventually succeed in taking their own lives?
So suicide is never about death being so attractive that people want to go there. It's really about wanting the pain to stop. That's what it is. It's in fact, you know what? Every single human being on the planet is wired for peace. If you ever find someone indulging in alcohol or whatever it is that their fix is, at the core of it is a quest for peace, a quest to feel that which we are created for.
Tony, then it takes me now to remember when we began the show, we did talk about men.
Yes.
And the research actually shows that more men
commit suicide,
take their own lives more than women.
Yeah.
So are we saying men are seeking peace more than women? What's going on here? Okay,
so everyone is seeking peace, but the difference between men and women is that women have the permission to deal with stuff because of how just our society is set up, right? So women and girls, they have the permission to cry, they have the permission to talk about, I mean, you will know this being a married person that if you didn't know, now you know that every time you have a fight with your wife, 2 minutes after, if not sooner, she's on a call with either her sister or a best friend, and guess what they're doing? They're offloading.
Okay.
Men don't do that. We're not wired like that. Or rather, let me say, we are not domesticated that way.
Wow.
We are domesticated because the portrait of what a man is supposed to look like, especially in this part of the world, Lee, is pretty messed up, eh? So and let's just spend a few minutes here and talk about the current portrait of what a man looks like.
Sure.
It means you provide no matter what. It means you have it together no matter what.
Sure.
You can never ever fail. You understand? And you can add to that the things that you know being a man. You can't cry, you can't do a lot of things. So that
you can't expose
portrait
your
is
weaknesses.
That portrait is toxic. That's what they call toxic masculinity. It causes to a whole bunch of problems along the way. So because we have co-created a society, men and women, where it's impossible for men to seek help, even when they want to look for help. Because vulnerability is not a desirable thing according to this society, but it can be the most beautiful thing, because that's what makes us human. The fact that we are not perfect, the fact that at some moments we will need a hand. I will need to call you, and I'm grateful that you and I do this for each other. You will talk to me about your issues and I will talk to you about my issues, right? We are the few of the blessed ones. The rest of our kind are in serious trouble. So,
Tony, I want to link what you're saying now to the time that you decided to find peace.
Yeah.
Let me call it that. And you just said something at the end there that at least we get to talk about stuff.
Yeah.
When you tried to find peace the first time, and even the second time, does it mean you did not have people to speak to?
Yes, I did not.
What do you mean by that? You were not.
I had. I'll take you to where it starts.
Yeah.
When I grew up, my dad, the man who was my father, God, rest his soul in peace. He had a rule in the house that you will not come home crying because another child picked you up. So if you came home because he would beat you up to go.
Was it an all boys house?
6 boys and 1 girl. So it was mostly boys, right? So
was the girl allowed though to cry?
Of course.
She was allowed.
Of course.
It was the 5 boys that were not allowed to.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, you know what we tell our kids when they cry, like our boy kids when they cry,
yeah, we do.
Right? As if to be a girl is such an undesirable thing, but that's the healthy way of dealing with stuff, right? So I wasn't trained how to cry or how to.
Should men cry though, Tony?
Everyone should cry. Men, women alike. It's why do you? If the design was for men not to cry, why do you have tears? Why do you shed tears sometimes? It's a mechanism that is in you, which is meant to be used.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, Tony, because this is the first installation of Out of the Mouths of Men, and I love the way you've started it.
Sure.
But there's also a certain narrative, and you were correct in saying the narrative comes from, or the domestication comes from both men and women.
Yes.
There is a narrative from women today. The same women who want equal opportunities also want a strong man. And they think this kind of talk that you're talking about, that men should cry, men should share.
Yeah.
They also think that we are shaping a weak man.
Yeah, but that's
What do you say about that?
so. Being strong,
Yeah.
in no way implies that you can't be vulnerable. The two can coexist perfectly.
Can they?
Yes, they can. I asked a question, I think it was last year, and I posted a question on my Facebook profile, and I asked people, is today's woman ready for a man that can cry? And most of the women who responded said no.
They don't
Precisely.
Want, they don't want a man.
They
who
do not
cry.
want a man who can cry. So you see how we are co-creating this monster, which we then say, look at that monster, right? Which we are equally creating. But strength and weakness, crying doesn't equal weakness, right? Crying is a sign of strength, in my view, because I mean, believe it or not, Lee, you can laugh if you want, but occasionally I have a good cry when I need to, and I do this not in front of people.
Does it help you?
Yes, it does. Crying is cleansing for the soul. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
Yes.
So, the fact that we're talking about suicide and more men doing that more than women,
Yes.
are we saying even in private,
Yes.
these men who then end up taking their own lives never give themselves the time to cry, to let out?
We are habitual
What
beings.
happens then?
We are habitual beings. So you become whatever you've been habituated to become. So if you are not trained to let it out, you are not going to let it out in public, neither in private. A lot of people will agree with me when it comes
Even
to
in
that.
private.
It's so bad that even if you go to a typical Zimbabwean funeral, right? It's like there's two groups of people at this funeral.
Yes.
There's like a group of men who are sitting around the fire with their alcohol, talking about Arsenal and Man U, and there's a group of women who are, doing the mourning, right? As if they've been assigned. But tesetavirwa varume nevakadzi avafawa ndibaba ndisekuru nditete wemunhu wese but aruchema ndiani. Can you imagine how weird? No.
Should we really cry as in
Look, this is different for different people, but I understand that for every human being, at some point, something is going to make you cry. And when this point comes...
I know we're having a serious discussion,
Sure.
but I like what you just alluded to. And I'm just trying to say, I'm picturing a funeral. I'm picturing a funeral
Yes.
where the women are inside, the men are sitting by the fire.
But what more?
Hey,
Can you Asibule, because you have not seen it, right? If you go to a white funeral, I mean, we see it on movies because I actually haven't been to one, but you will see men and women cry, right? There's this typical scene in white movies where people are by the graveside and it's raining, people are wearing black,
yes.
and there's men and women crying. It's better in certain societies, but it's worse here, where it's weird for. Can you imagine this, Lee? Just try to imagine. I want you to picture this scene. This is you after work, and you've had your boss was giving you an earful, right?
Yeah.
And you get home, and you hug your wife, and you start crying. Right?
I had a radio show where they said no.
No, because we have taught women and men that crying equals weakness. So nobody wants to see weakness.
Tony, some also attribute taking your own life to spiritual presence.
Yeah.
Okay. As you also see, even the burials of people who take their own lives is different from the ones that we call normal deaths.
Yes.
In your experience, you have been speaking to a lot of men, you've also been speaking to a lot of women, some who then even maybe take their own lives or are at the verge of taking their own lives. Is there an element of spirituality in taking your own life?
Look, man, I'm not going to ignore the fact that there are some people who do come under those influences, and but those people are not many. For the most part, we ascribe spirituality to things that are not spiritually related. For the most part, it's just people not understanding how mental health can really affect a human being, right? For the most part, these are things that we can deal with. For the most part, it's things that we can prevent. It's things that you and I can do something about. Okay. Because it kind of doesn't make sense to me that, you know, we can ascribe such a huge chunk of issues to spirituality, because it means then we're not in control. Like, we might as well just throw our hands up and say, you know what, what can we do about it?
I get you.
You understand? So for the most part, it's things that you and I can do something about. So it's an issue of education. It's an issue of making people aware. I mean, we're not. I want to take you back to the 80s. When we heard the case of HIV that happened in Africa, right? There was a lot of fear around because we did not understand it. No one had information. There was no internet, right? And people didn't. This is a new animal. Like, people don't know what this is. So a lot of fear gripped us, like, to a point where you could even be stigmatized for having a relative who was HIV positive, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
But as time went by, as information became more available, HIV is not, in fact, it's not even talked about as much now, because people now understand it better. You can easily date someone who's HIV positive. People are getting married, they're having kids. That's just how comfortable it's become. It's now part of our day-to-day conversation, right? Absolutely. And my hope is that at some point we will do the same with mental health, where you and I will sit down and say, Lee, I'm depressed. And then I'll give you a hug and say, I'm here for you, my friend. Can we talk about it?
Tony, what brought you back? Attempting suicide twice is not a joke.
Yeah.
But here you are, seated here, explaining, and you've helped a lot of people.
Thank you.
What do you attribute to your coming back, and coming back strong?
So after I attempted the second time, right, and it didn't work, I reasoned and I said, surely this can't be it, right? I started speaking to a pastor around that time. So this was the first time, Lee, that I spoke to another man about my emotions. I actually admitted to another man that I was hurt, right?
Heartbroken.
I was heartbroken and I was in a lot of pain.
And that doesn't happen. You're right.
So it's a weird conversation between men, right? So the more I did that, the more I found it okay to do it, right? So I'm one of the few blessed ones that are okay. I'm a very emotional being, by the way, just generally, like all human beings. But I embrace my emotionality more than most people. As in, I allow myself to feel. I don't ever try to sweep anything under the carpet. I sit in the experience. If it's a heartbreak, if it's a disappointment, if it's a whatever, I sit in it and I become okay with it.
You're saying something very interesting there, Tony. Because then when somebody listens to that, and I'm also listening to you saying that, that you embrace your emotions and you allow yourself to feel.
Yeah.
Is that not actually dangerous?
No, it's not.
Compared to somebody who blocks certain emotions and says, you know what, I'm going to move on.
I will respond to that by giving you a physical example, right? Do you know what would happen in your sink if you put a stop to the water that's supposed to flow down to wherever it's supposed to go? Right? You know what would happen? The chaos. You've seen sewer pipes blocked, and you know the chaos. And what happens when they are blocked?
It comes back and it flows, it even flows into...
It's messy. It's a mess, Lee. Okay. So the design to feel is a natural mechanism. Everything under the sun, including trees and animals. And do you know what would happen if you put a cut on a tree bark and you came back after a week? The tree would have healed. It didn't go to the doctor. It didn't do nothing. It went through a natural process of healing. Okay. So human emotions are the same, in that we are designed to feel, and it goes. No person under the sun will feel the same emotion continuously, whether it's joy or anxiety or depression or whatever. Everything is designed to flow, right? So when you sit in an emotion, do you know what you're doing? You're just allowing a process to happen, a healing process to happen.
Okay.
If you call me today, going through stuff, and you say to me, and I didn't pick up your call, right? I can guarantee you, if I call you back 2 days later, you're not sitting in the same situation, in the same emotion. What happened? But all kinds of problems happen when you do not allow yourself, when you do not allow a process to happen.
While we're there, Tony, I would also now like you to speak to that man right now. Not to say women are not important, but we've designed this show especially for men because they're going through a lot.
Sure.
And I mean, like we said, research shows that there's a man who's watching this, who's on the verge
of
almost in the same situation that you were in back in 2011.
Yeah.
What would you like to say to that man right now? He's on the verge. He feels like, you know what?
This is it.
Yeah, peace. I want peace.
First off, I totally understand your experience. I see you. I acknowledge you. I validate everything you're feeling right now. You're not crazy, right? You are going through a normal process. This is pain that you're going through, and I know it feels unbearable. I know it feels like this is the end. But here's the thing about emotions and thoughts, as I have learned and I've come to understand, right? They come and go, number one. Secondly, they are virtual experiences. They do not represent truth in any shape or form. Thoughts and emotions do not represent truth. I'll say it again. Thoughts and emotions do not represent truth. Thoughts and emotions do not represent truth. Do not believe what you think and feel, because they change all the time, as they are supposed to.
Okay.
No experience lasts forever. No experience stays with you forever. Thoughts and emotions come and go. They are virtual experiences. They are all happening in your head. Let me give you a perfect example. If we're sitting in front of cameras right now, right? If you were stressed out right now and somebody was to film you, what would they see? Nothing. Do you know why? Because it's all happening within.
It's inside.
It's not a reality that we can capture on the camera. That's what I mean when I say it's virtual. If you were to videotape someone who is going through depression, what would you see? Nothing. Because it's happening. It's a created experience. It's happening in their head. It's not. It doesn't have its roots in reality. It's not happening right now. So a lot of the pain that we go through it mentally, not in reality, because we imagine things and we see things.
Having said this, Tony, this is both issues to do with your mental capacity to deal with issues, but what should they do physically? We're still talking about that same man. You have validated them, and I see this is very important to accept, to say, I understand. And then you've told them that is virtual. But what physical action should they take?
Speak to a professional. The reason why we speak to a professional is because they are trained to help you gain right perspective. Because it's really all just a matter of perspective.
Okay.
The difference between two people who are in the same situation, one is not depressed and one is about the same situation, is perception. So what a professional will do is they will bring you back to the anchor, and you can start seeing things in a different, healthier kind of way.
So they need
That's what
to
therapy
see
is. Yes. Sometimes it requires medication, but as I have come to understand it, medication is really just designed to get you over a hump, not to become a way of life.
Okay.
The medication helps you deal with the crisis in that situation. It's not meant to be a way of life.
Okay.
There's got to be a root to all of these things that then needs to be dealt with, and therapy is a beautiful way of doing that.
Fantastic. Where do men go for help, Tony? You've just given us the little route or process that they should go to, but obviously that's not enough for somebody who's actually going. Where do they actually go for help?
There aren't many places, but the ones that I know of is where I am, and if it's okay, I can give out a number.
Absolutely.
This number will just literally become the gateway to all kinds of help.
Sure.
0772 108 108. 0772 108 108. Initially, this was a personal number that I've dedicated as a suicide prevention hotline.
Fantastic.
So now it's
so
out there.
So they call this number?
They can call, text, WhatsApp.
And they
doesn't
will get
matter.
a response.
And they will get a response.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tony, it's been absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
I wish we could talk some more.
We will.
Because obviously somebody is yearning to hear you speak some more.
Yeah.
Because some people do get inspiration just by watching.
By watching. Yeah.
But you've given us your number.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that this is the magical number that somebody has been waiting for. But we would like to urge people to use 0772 108 108. Get your help now.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you also said what they're probably looking for is not death, but it's peace.
It's peace, yeah.
And this could be your gateway
to peace.
0772 108 108. It's been the first installation of what we call From the Mouths of Men, and I've had a remarkable man here in Tony Friday. Remarkable is how I look at you. Remarkable is the work that you're doing. Thank you very much. Please keep on keeping on.
Thank you.
And just to let you know that this is an Issues Paninyaya edition of Out of the Mouths of Men. To get in touch with Issues Paninyaya, 0786 221 299. That's 0786 221 299. Don't hesitate to get in touch with both those numbers that we've shared. If you're going through something, follow what this remarkable man has said, and we'll see you in the next episode.